Hey everyone, it's Justin again. We've covered a lot in this unit, including 3 different forms for writing linear equations. In this lesson, we're going to be putting it all together and talking about all 3 forms at the same time. The 3 major forms for linear functions are slope-intercept form, point-slope form, and standard form. Each of these has their own benefits, especially when it comes to graphing. In slope-intercept form, the equation tells you the y-intercept and gives you a slope to use to find a second point. Point-slope form is almost the same. It tells you some point on the line plus the slope so you could find another point. Standard form gives you the information to find 2 points, the 2 intercepts, without even needing a slope. The part you have to remember is that every form contains enough features to graph the line. You just have to recognize the form and identify those features. First, we need to decide what form this equation is in. It's pretty obvious that this is point-slope form, which means that we can identify a point and a slope. The point will come from the x1 and y1 positions. x1 has to be -2 so that when it's subtracted, it becomes +2. For that same reason, y1 has to be -4. This gives our line a starting point. Now, if we could just find a second point, we can graph the line. We could find a second point by using the slope. The slope in this equation seems to be a negative with no value, but we aren't fooled by that anymore. An invisible multiplier is always 1, so the slope is just -1. To see the rise over 1, we can just put a 1 under it. Now that we know the slope, we can rise -1 and run 1 to find a second point, and then graph the line. Again, before we can do anything else, we have to know what form we're working with. Both the x and y are on one side with constants on the other, so that indicates that this is standard form. Standard form doesn't give a slope like the other 2 forms, but it does make it easy to find the intercepts. To find the y-intercept, we zero out the x term and then solve. The x-intercept is the same process, but after zeroing out the y term instead. Now we can just use these 2 points to graph the line. This one is clearly in the first form we learned, slope-intercept form. And true to its name, the 2 important features are a y-intercept and a slope. The y-intercept comes from the constant at the end, so that will be 0, -5. The slope is the number multiplying x, so that's 3, or 3/1. And now we've got everything we need to graph the y-intercept. Gives us a starting point, and the slope helps us find a second point. Even linear equations that aren't written in one of the forms can be graphed simply by manipulating it into one of the forms. Like, take this one, for instance. This equation isn't in any of the forms we know, but we can make it one. We could make it slope-intercept form by solving for y, or make it standard form by moving x and y to the same side, or you could even make it point-slope form by dividing off y's coefficient, then factoring the coefficient of x. Okay, so that last one might seem a little too complicated to bother with, but that's why it's good to see that there are 3 different forms. If one of them seems too complicated to work out, there are 2 others you can still use to get the same line. Any linear equation is easy to graph, as long as you know which forms give away which features. In the next video, we're going to learn how to write equations in all 3 forms, even if the information we've been given only seems like enough for one.